My brothers and sisters, not everything that appears beautiful brings goodness into our lives. Sometimes what looks pleasing to the eye may be the very thing that invites harm into our homes. We often fill our spaces with plants, thinking they bring calm and freshness. But have we ever paused to reflect on what kind of energy or symbolism they carry? Islam teaches us that our surroundings influence our hearts, our peace, and even our spiritual connection with Allah. Some things, though natural, can attract negativity rather than blessings. Today, I want to share with you a powerful reminder that even what we bring into our homes can affect the light or darkness that resides within them. It's true that plants are part of Allah's creation and everything He has created has a purpose. But that doesn't mean everything is suitable for every place or situation. Sometimes what Allah has created for one environment becomes harmful when placed in another. A believer must learn to distinguish between what is simply natural and what is spiritually beneficial. There are plants that grow in places where light never reaches, where the atmosphere is damp, heavy, and lifeless. They survive in the shadows, and while they may look beautiful on the surface, they symbolize stagnation, not growth. When such things are brought into our homes, they can carry that same energy, darkness, heaviness, and discomfort that quietly influences the peace within our hearts. Our homes should be places of light, not just from lamps and windows, but from the remembrance of Allah, from purity and from positive energy that encourages goodness. A spiritually healthy home is one that invites angels, not one that repels them. Sometimes you might notice that after placing a certain plant or decoration in your home, the mood begins to change. You feel uneasy, prayers become difficult to focus on, or you sense a kind of heaviness that wasn't there before. While we don't base our beliefs on superstition, we must still be observant. Islam teaches awareness, not fear, but wisdom. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, taught us to seek refuge in Allah from all forms of harm, both seen and unseen. And that means being careful about what we allow into our personal spaces. When we say that not everything natural is spiritually beneficial, we mean that our decisions must align with faith and understanding. Some plants or symbols have been used for rituals that go against Islamic teachings. Others are believed to attract certain spirits or energies that are not from the light. Whether or not we fully understand these associations, the safer choice is to distance ourselves from anything that could compromise the serenity of our homes. Allah has given us so many options, so many beautiful, pure and beneficial creations that bring life and peace. Choose those that reflect purity, not confusion. Choose those that remind you of the Creator, not the creation itself. Your home is a reflection of your heart. Just as you wouldn't fill your mind with negative thoughts, you shouldn't fill your space with things that carry negative energy. If something doesn't sit right with you, if your heart feels uneasy about it, listen to that feeling. The believer's heart is guided by the light of faith. Protect that light. Let your home breathe spiritually, just as plants breathe physically. Surround yourself with things that remind you of Allah's mercy, His blessings, and His beauty. Because when your environment nourishes your soul, your faith grows stronger, and that is the kind of growth every believer should seek. The home of a believer is not just a shelter from the weather or a place to rest, it is a sanctuary of peace, a space where hearts should find calm and the remembrance of Allah should flow naturally. The environment we live in has a powerful effect on our thoughts, our emotions, and even our worship. When the atmosphere of a home is pure and filled with light, it encourages prayer, reflection, and kindness. But when it becomes heavy, cluttered, or filled with things that repel the remembrance of Allah, it quietly starts to affect the hearts of those who live there. The spiritual state of your home matters more than its size, design, or luxury. A small, simple space filled with barakah and tranquility is far better than a grand home that feels empty of peace. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, reminded us that angels do not enter homes where there are impure things or symbols of falsehood. This is not only about physical impurity, but also about the spiritual energy that surrounds us. If we bring objects, decorations, or even plants that are connected to negative symbolism or beliefs that contradict Islam, we risk creating a space that distances us from the mercy of Allah. Sometimes we might think these are harmless, a small statue, a charm, a plant that looks attractive, but if it carries meanings or associations from outside the teachings of Islam, it may bring spiritual discomfort. The angels of mercy bring tranquility, but they do not stay where falsehood is honored. Think about how you feel when you enter a home that is filled with the remembrance of Allah, where the Quran is recited, where there is cleanliness, where people greet each other with warmth and kindness. You immediately sense peace. That peace is not just emotional, it is spiritual. It comes from barakah, from divine blessing that settles in places where Allah is remembered often. Now, think about entering a space filled with noise, neglect, or objects that carry dark or empty meanings. You might not see it, but your heart can feel it. The air feels heavy. Your thoughts become restless. This is why Islam emphasizes that our homes should be places of prayer, learning, and comfort, not just physical beauty. So before bringing anything into your home, ask yourself, does this invite light or darkness? Does it help me remember Allah or distract me from Him? Does it bring calm to my heart or discomfort to my spirit? When you begin to think this way, you become more mindful of what surrounds you. Protecting the spiritual atmosphere of your home means protecting your peace and your connection with Allah. Let your home be a place where angels love to dwell, where dhikr echoes in the rooms, and where every corner radiates serenity. When you maintain that light, no darkness can settle in your space, and your home becomes not only a refuge in this world, but a reflection of the peace you seek in the hereafter. Islam does not encourage superstition or blind fear. A true believer does not live in constant worry that every object or plant might harm them. Rather, a Muslim lives with awareness, balance, and reliance on Allah. When we say to be careful of what we bring into our homes, it's not because these things hold independent power, only Allah has power. But we must recognize that some things are associated with practices, beliefs, or environments that carry negative energy or contradict our faith. Our responsibility is not to live in fear, but to live with wisdom and understanding. Throughout history, certain plants, objects, or symbols have been used in rituals that have nothing to do with Islam, sometimes even in the worship of other beings or in attempts to influence unseen forces. When a Muslim brings such things into their home, even unintentionally, they might be inviting spiritual discomfort. It's not the plant itself that has power, but the meaning and association it carries. For example, something that was used in non-Islamic rituals or superstitious practices can bring with it an atmosphere of unease. While some may dismiss this as coincidence, many people notice that after introducing certain items, they feel unsettled, restless, or spiritually disconnected. In Islam, we are taught to observe these changes with a thoughtful heart, not to fear them, but to respond with remembrance and clarity. Being mindful does not mean being paranoid. It means being aware that the unseen world exists, that jinn and angels are real, that spiritual energy is real, and that our choices can influence what kind of forces we invite into our space. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, warned against imitating non-Islamic rituals or customs, because even small actions can open subtle doors to negative influence. A believer's strength lies not in suspicion but in awareness. When you are conscious of what you bring into your life and your home, you are exercising your responsibility as a caretaker of your environment. We must also remember that Islam places great emphasis on intention. If your heart is pure and your intention is sincere, Allah will protect you from harm. But when we knowingly ignore signs or persist in keeping things that make us uneasy, we are disregarding that inner wisdom Allah placed within us. A believer should trust that intuition, the sense that something feels wrong, because the Prophet ﷺ said, righteousness is that about which the soul feels at ease, and sin is that which wavers in the heart, and you dislike that. People should know about it. That feeling of unease is a signal to reflect, to purify, to return to remembrance. So avoid superstition, but don't dismiss awareness. Know that your true protection comes from Allah, from dhikr, from prayer, from reciting Ayatul-Kursi and the last verses of Surah Al-Baqarah. When your heart is attached to Allah, you need not fear anything in creation. But when your heart is careless, even small things can affect your peace. Stay alert, stay humble, and keep your home and heart guarded with light and remembrance. That is the balance of a wise believer, cautious but never afraid. What we choose to keep around us says a lot about who we are and what we value. Our homes are reflections of our inner selves, mirrors of our hearts, our priorities and our faith. When you walk into someone's home, you can often sense what matters most to them. Some people fill their spaces with reminders of Allah Qur'ans, simple and clean decorations, the fragrance of purity and the atmosphere of peace. Others may unknowingly fill their homes with objects that distract, darken, or distance them from remembrance. What we keep close to us influences our hearts, whether we realize it or not. Every object in your home carries a presence, not in a superstitious way, but in a psychological and spiritual sense. A believer should always ask, does this thing help me remember Allah, or does it pull me away from Him? If something around you brings confusion, heaviness, or unrest, it might be reflecting a deeper issue within the environment or even within your own state of mind. Sometimes we hold on to things simply because they look beautiful or are fashionable, even if they symbolize something that doesn't align with our values. It may be a plant linked to negative energy, a symbol of pride, or even a piece of decor that was created for rituals not based on Islam. When we surround ourselves with such things, we allow subtle negativity to occupy our sacred space. Our surroundings feed our souls, just as food feeds our bodies. If you fill your home with what is spiritually unhealthy, you cannot expect inner peace. But when you fill it with what brings light, the remembrance of Allah, the recitation of Quran, the presence of humility, you will notice a calmness that nothing in the material world can match. Your walls might be simple, your furniture may be plain, but your home will glow with peace. That is barakah, divine blessing that cannot be purchased, only invited through sincerity and mindfulness. Think about how easily the mood of a room changes. When the Quran is recited, there is a lightness that fills the air. But when there is constant noise, argument or heedlessness, the air feels heavy. That is not imagination, it is spiritual reality. The heart senses what the eyes cannot see. So when your heart feels uneasy about something in your surroundings, listen to it. That discomfort is not weakness, it's a sign from Allah guiding you to purify your space. This awareness also applies to what we keep emotionally and mentally. Just as you should remove harmful things from your home, you should remove harmful thoughts from your heart. Both are connected. When your home is cluttered with meaningless things, your mind becomes restless. When your environment reflects purity, your soul becomes calm. It's not about living without beauty. Islam encourages beauty, but about choosing beauty that uplifts rather than corrupts. So before bringing anything into your home, ask, does this represent who I want to be as a believer? Does it make me feel peace or disturbance? would I feel comfortable remembering Allah in its presence? When you start thinking this way, your surroundings will begin to transform. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, said that Allah is pure and loves purity. A believer's home, therefore, should reflect that same purity. When your space is clean, simple, and filled with things that remind you of goodness, you will notice that your heart feels lighter and your connection with Allah becomes stronger. That is the power of living with intention, of surrounding yourself with what mirrors the faith within your heart. Many people today believe that comfort and peace come from abundance, from filling their homes with beautiful things, expensive furniture, or exotic decorations. Yet, true tranquility doesn't come from what we own. It comes from the presence of Allah's blessings in our lives. The most peaceful homes are not the ones filled with luxury, but the ones filled with sincerity, remembrance, and simplicity. Islam teaches us that barakah, true blessing, often resides in what is modest, clean, and pure. When a home becomes too focused on material beauty, it can easily lose its spiritual beauty. Look at the example of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. His home was simple, made of clay walls with few possessions, yet it radiated light. There was peace in that home because it was filled with remembrance. There was no extravagance, no obsession with appearance, yet the atmosphere was filled with calm and comfort. Simplicity invites barakah because it removes distraction and keeps the heart focused on what truly matters. When you keep your home uncluttered, both physically and spiritually, you make space for peace to enter. A home crowded with unnecessary objects often becomes a home crowded with unnecessary worry. Some people surround themselves with decorations that they believe bring good luck or prosperity. Others bring in rare plants or ornaments that are said to attract wealth or energy. But as believers, we know that all sustenance, all protection, and all blessing come from Allah alone. No object, plant, or symbol can bring what Allah has not decreed. When we attach our sense of peace or fortune to material things, we begin to depend on them instead of Allah. This subtle shift can weaken our faith over time. The best way to attract blessings is through good deeds, kindness, prayer, charity, and gratitude, not through objects or symbols. Simplicity is not about living without beauty, it's about choosing beauty that nourishes the soul. A simple home that echoes with Quranic recitation, the laughter of family, and the remembrance of Allah is far more valuable than a grand home filled with emptiness. When you keep your environment clear of distractions, your heart becomes more present in worship. You begin to appreciate small things, a soft light, the sound of birds, the sweetness of silence after prayer. These moments remind you of Allah's mercy and keep your heart humble. If you want blessings in your home, start by filling it with the remembrance of Allah. Begin your day with dhikr, end it with gratitude, and keep your tongue moist with praise. Recite Surah Al-Baqarah. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said that it drives away evil from the home. Greet your family with peace, keep your space clean, and maintain sincerity in your actions. When you live this way, your home becomes filled with divine tranquility. Simplicity doesn't take away from your life, it makes space for what truly matters. Remember, Allah's blessings descend upon hearts that are humble and spaces that are pure. The less you depend on material beauty, the more you will experience spiritual beauty. A simple home that is loved, remembered by Allah, and filled with gratitude will always shine brighter than the most luxurious palace without faith. If you ever feel that your home has become heavy, that peace is slipping away, or that uneasiness seems to linger, remember this: true protection and purification come only from the remembrance of Allah. No object, fragrance, or ritual can replace the power of dhikr, prayer, and the recitation of the Quran. The believer's shield against all forms of negativity, seen or unseen, is faith. When the remembrance of Allah fills your space, every dark force loses its strength. Many people today turn to quick fixes when they sense negativity in their homes. Some light candles or burn incense. Others hang charms or use symbols they believe will drive away bad energy. But Islam teaches us that the only lasting protection comes from connecting with the one who controls everything, Allah. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, gave us clear guidance on how to protect our homes. He said that the house in which Surah Al-Baqarah is recited will not be entered by shaitan. This is not just a spiritual statement, it's a reality. The recitation of the Quran fills a space with light, with angels, and with the remembrance of truth. Darkness cannot exist where light is constant. If you fear that something unseen is affecting your peace, begin by strengthening your relationship with Allah. Start with the basics, pray on time, recite Ayatul-Kursi after every prayer, and seek refuge in Allah through the morning and evening adhkar. These are powerful shields that guard not only your home but your heart. When you wake up, say the prescribed morning supplications. Before you sleep, recite Surah Al-Ikhlas, Al-Falaq and An-Nas as the Prophet taught us. These simple acts create a wall of divine protection that no negative force can penetrate. But protection is not only about words, it's about presence. A home where people argue constantly, where the television plays endlessly, or where sin is normalized cannot expect to feel peaceful. Angels do not stay where there is falsehood, backbiting or heedlessness. If you want the angels of mercy to dwell in your home, fill it with remembrance and sincerity. Replace idle talk with Quranic recitation. Replace noise with prayer. Replace neglect with gratitude. When you purify your environment in this way, the atmosphere will begin to shift. The same walls and rooms will suddenly feel lighter, calmer, and more comforting. There's also power in gratitude. When you thank Allah often for your home, no matter how small or simple it is, He fills it with barakah. Gratitude opens the door to peace, while complaint invites restlessness. When your heart is content, your home reflects that serenity. So, if you ever sense negativity, don't panic and don't rush to worldly remedies. Begin by turning back to the one who created peace itself. Keep your tongue busy with remembrance. Play the Quran softly in your home. Pray 2 rak'ahs and ask Allah to fill your house with light. Do this consistently and you will feel the difference. Remember, when Allah's name is mentioned, shaitan flees. The more you remember Him, the stronger your protection becomes. Let dhikr be the fragrance of your home, and your walls will hold peace, your rooms will carry light, and your heart will never feel alone. It's not enough to remove a certain plant or decoration and think that the problem has been solved. True spiritual peace doesn't come from rearranging our surroundings alone. It comes from cleansing what lies within us. Many times, people focus on fixing what they can see while ignoring the roots of unrest that lie in their hearts. The truth is, no matter how many times you change your environment, if your heart carries jealousy, arrogance, anger or resentment, those same feelings will continue to disturb your peace. The greatest form of purification begins not in the home, but in the soul. When we speak about removing negative forces, we must remember that the most powerful source of negativity often comes from within. When the heart becomes clouded by sin or arrogance, it attracts darkness the same way light attracts goodness. You might remove every plant, every object, and every possible symbol from your house, but if your heart remains hardened and distant from Allah, the sense of heaviness will return. The believer's first step is always to look inward. Ask yourself, am I holding on to grudges? Am I backbiting? Have I neglected my prayers? Am I filling my home with anger instead of remembrance? These are the roots that feed the unseen discomfort we sometimes feel. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, taught us that when we seek forgiveness often, our lives begin to open up. Doors that were closed start to unlock and light begins to enter our hearts again. Saying Astaghfirullah sincerely cleanses not just the tongue but the soul. It removes the stains that keep us from feeling peace. When you combine this inner purification with outer mindfulness, keeping your home clean, free from distractions and symbols that carry negative meaning, you create a balance between the physical and spiritual worlds. It's also important to fill what you remove. When you take away something harmful, replace it with something beneficial. If you've cleared a corner that once felt heavy, make it a space of prayer or reflection. If you've stopped listening to something harmful, replace it with the sound of Quran recitation. Emptiness attracts energy, so make sure that energy is good. Fill the space you've cleansed with Allah's words and fill your heart with His remembrance. Purification is an ongoing process. Just as we clean our homes regularly, we must clean our hearts constantly. Don't wait for heaviness to build up before turning back to Allah. A home that is purified once may shine for a time, but a heart that is purified daily will continue to glow for a lifetime. So remember this, remove the cause, not just the symptom. Don't focus only on what surrounds you, focus on what defines you. A pure home begins with a pure heart. Ask Allah sincerely to fill your space with His nur, His divine light, and to protect you from every shadow that seeks to dim it. When your heart is clean, even a simple home will feel like a sanctuary. And when your heart carries darkness, even the most beautiful home will feel empty. The peace you seek outside begins inside you. Purify that and everything else will follow. My beloved brothers and sisters, always remember that your home is more than just a place where you live. It is where your soul rests, where your faith grows, and where your heart finds peace. The environment you create around you reflects what lives within you. If your heart is filled with remembrance, mercy, and gratitude, your home will naturally radiate peace. But if your heart carries neglect or distraction, your surroundings will begin to mirror that unrest. That is why Islam teaches us to be mindful of both what we bring into our homes and what we carry in our hearts. Do not fear what is unseen. Instead, strengthen your connection with the one who sees all. Fill your space with light through prayer, through dhikr, through recitation of the Quran. Let your home echo with the name of Allah. Keep your tongue busy with remembrance and your heart anchored in trust. Remove whatever disturbs your peace, whether it's an object, a habit, or a thought, and replace it with something that uplifts you spiritually. When Allah is remembered often in your home, angels descend, blessings multiply, and serenity becomes constant. A peaceful home doesn't depend on wealth, decoration, or size. It depends on the presence of faith, the purity of intention, and the remembrance of Allah. Be conscious of what you allow into your space, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. Choose simplicity over extravagance, purity over beauty, and sincerity over show. When your home becomes a place of light, every visitor will feel that peace, and every heart within it will rest with ease. So take a moment today to reflect on your surroundings. Walk through your home with remembrance. Ask Allah to cleanse it of negativity and fill it with His mercy and blessings. Recite the Quran, make dua for barakah, and remember that light and darkness cannot exist together. Choose to invite light. Choose to make your home a space where Allah is remembered and loved. May Allah protect our homes from every form of harm. Fill them with peace. Grant us hearts that reflect His light, and allow our dwellings to be places of comfort in this world and preparation for the eternal home of Jannah. Ameen.